Hey everybody, welcome back to today's one and done video series. So if you didn't catch my last one, this is a new video series I'm doing where every Tuesday and Thursday I play with a deck of my choice through a single match on Magic Online, and this is to kind of fill in the gaps between Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays when I do a full series of 3 or 5 matches with a single deck. However, right now we're doing just one match with a single deck of my choosing, which is going to be Blue-Black Control. And the reason for that is because Blue-Black Control is something I played around with a bit before Jace the Mind Sculptor got unbanned in Modern. After that, I never really touched it just because it felt like there were just better shells to be playing in Modern than this. But once again, maybe Fatal Push is better than Path to Exile in the format, and I kind of doubt it, but at the same time, what I do like about having Fatal Push versus Path to Exile is that your mana denial strategy is a little bit more potent, right? When you're killing your opponent's creatures, you're not giving them a free land, and that means your cards like Spreading Seas and your Field of Ruins and your Ghost Quarters and your Crucible of Worlds plan, all of that comes together much better when you're on blue-black rather than blue-white, because you're not giving your opponents any free land. We also got an interesting addition of Cast Down, which is an extra piece of removal spell that's actually pretty nice. It helps you kill a lot of different things in Modern. It helps you kill like Gurmag Anglers and things like that. Normally cards that might be kind of hard to deal for Blue-Black Control, because you don't really play any other hard removal than Fatal Push. What we're trying out here is, last time I played the deck I had like 4 copies of Serum Visions to smooth out, the early game. I'm going to try to take a different approach this time around. So we're going to play 25 lands, as well as 2 Think Twice, and then like a Glimmer of Genius in the 4-drop slot as well. And so essentially, instead of just, cantripping, we're going to have more tools for card advantage to kind of get ahead in the game rather than just cycle a card for a bit of selection, because I think it was Benjamin Nikolic who said recently in his Jeskai deck that the Serum Visions just didn't provide relevant selection for his deck. Now, I'm not going to say that's the same for this, but I understand his logic in the sense that you're a control deck, you want to gain card advantage, you don't necessarily want to just always find the exact cards you need, but sometimes you just need a mass amount of cards, especially when your whole deck kind of does the same thing, and that's what Jeskai does. This deck can maybe do similar things, maybe not. I'm not quite sure, but we're going to try the experiment out, right? And we're only doing it through one match here. So the rest of the deck here is basically removal. You have counter magic, you have 2 Mana Leak, 1 Logic Knot, as well as 4 Cryptic Command. You have your 4 Snapcaster Mages, your Vendilion Click, and your Torrential Gearhulk as your main win conditions, alongside Creeping Tarpit as your land. What's nice about Crucible of Worlds is that even if your opponent is a Lightning Bolt deck, if they kill your Creeping Tarpit, you can just always rebuy it. Essentially, you can't really run out of win conditions with Crucible unless your opponent kind of exiles your Creeping Tarpit. So that's what I really like about Crucible. You have Liliana the Last Hope, which is a great Planeswalker. Rebuys your Snapcaster Mages, your Gearhulk, even your Vendilion Clicks, as well as just being a win con and great against little critter decks. You have 2 Jace the Mind Sculptor, fantastic Planeswalker if you're in blue. Jace Architect of Thought because Mardu is a real deck, and it's also just a great value card. And then 2 Damnation to control the board, a Glimmer of Genius, as I mentioned before, for some card draw, Pull from Tomorrow as kind of like our Sphinx's Rev for this deck, and then also 2 Search for Ithcanta as some more ways to churn through the deck, find what you need, and just gain tons of card advantage. So that's going to be the main deck. That's what Blue-Black Control does, and especially it's important to remember that your removal spells of choice do not give your opponents a basic land out of their deck. And so that's kind of the idea here with Blue-Black Control, because if you think about it, there might not be that many big reasons to play Blue-Black over Blue-White, but that is one of the big draws to it. The Fatal Push is just a much cleaner removal spell in a lot of cases. Okay, let's go ahead and talk about the sideboard. So Tron is probably going to be one of this deck's rougher matchups, even with your Spreading Seas, even with Field of Ruin. We have 2 Ceremonious Rejection to help out with that. It also works against Affinity, although Affinity should be an okay matchup. We have removal and things like that to help beat Affinity there. 2 Dispel, 2 Counter Squall is great against any control or combo deck, as well as some big mana decks in the format. Hero's Downfall is a great way to kill opposing Planeswalkers as well as big dumb creatures, and you can obviously flash it back with any of your Snapcasters and Torrential Gearhulks for value. We have 2 Liliana the Veil because I do imagine that Bogles might be a rough deck for us to beat. So Liliana the Veil out of the sideboard has a sacrifice effect, can be nice. It's also great against other control decks and things of that nature. So Liliana the Veil, solid card. We have 4 Leyline of the Void. It's our graveyard hate of choice. This is what beats Dredge. This is what beats Mardu Pyromancer. This is what beats Living End. And then you kind of just more or less protect that card with your counter squalls, with your dispels. And then your opponent can't really get off the ground, and you just beat them down as a fair control deck. But these graveyard strategies are probably going to be pretty rough for a deck like this. We prey on more creature decks, more mid-rangey decks, graveyard decks that interact on a different axis are going to be really difficult. So you need interaction from the get-go. That's why I don't like Surgical Extractor and now Spellbomb. Obviously, those are better if you draw them off the top, but Leyline of the Void is still a very, very powerful sideboard card for graveyard decks. We have 1 Scarab God because this is a really sweet card for the fair matchups. The reason I like it in the sideboard versus the main board is that there's a lot of decks that run Path to Exile in Modern, and so ideally your opponent's going to side out most of their Path to Exiles game 2, which is where you bring in Scarab God, and hopefully he can steal a game in that way. Because your opponent, and then if your opponent brings in back their Path to Exiles in game 3, you're probably still favored, even if you keep Scarab God in or out, right? They're keeping in a bunch of bad cards for your one maybe good card. So generally, game 1, it's pretty free for your opponent to obviously have Path to Exiles. Game 2 and 3, it's a little bit less free, and that's why I prefer it in the sideboard. And then Engineer Explosives, because we have a hard time dealing with certain permanents like enchantments and artifacts, so Engineer Explosives can sometimes help clear that out of the way. Anyways, that's blue-black control for you. We have a lot of nice tools here in black that maybe white doesn't get, which is Scarab God, Liliana, Counter Squall, Hero's Downfall, Leyline of the Void, Fatal Push, Cast Down, Damnation, etc., etc. Liliana, the Last Hope. A lot of different things going on here that maybe blue-white doesn't get access to. Obviously, I mentioned Damnation, but they obviously have Wrath of God, Supreme Verdict, etc., etc. But point is, this deck is fighting on a slightly different axis than traditional blue-white control, and we're going to also test out, see if this Think Twice plus 25 lands is better than maybe like 24 lands plus Serum Visions, plus 4 Serum Visions. I'm not sure, but obviously we're going to try it out in this one and done video series with blue-black control, so stay tuned for the match coming up in just a second. I will see you all very, very soon. Alright, hello everybody. Welcome to the the only match here with blue-black control in this one and done series. Let's go ahead and say, yeah, we want to play first. And we'll take a look at our opener here. Unfortunately, this hand is obviously pretty bad. 1 land, not even a blue source. Bunch of Snapcasters. Yeah, this hand is a clear mulligan. Wow. Man, imagine if this was a Serum Visions, right? I think I'm actually going to go ahead and keep this hand and hope to find a land in the top few cards of our deck. That's a Field of Ruin. So we'll go ahead and keep that. We'll play Watery Grave tapped and say go. We have a couple options next turn. We can hold up, Think Twice. We can play Spreading Seas depending on what our opponent's strategy is. These 2 Snapcaster Mages aren't too great right now, but Insolent Neonate. So it looks like this might be Dredge, could be some other graveyard deck. I think it might be okay to take them off of one of their sources here. This could be like Vengevine. So if I can stop them from casting 2 creatures next turn, then that could be reasonable. Alright, we found a Fatal Push. It's a removal spell depending on what our opponent does. We can pair it with our Snapcaster Mages. We still need to hit some land drops though, right? Looks like our opponent discarded Phantasmagorian. When you cast this spell, any player discard 3 cards, return. Okay. Alright. Bridge from Below, Prized Amalgam, Vengevine. Oh boy. I'm kind of glad we came prepared with our Leyline of the Voids. Let's see if our opponent has a land drop to make here. If they don't, we can maybe run away with a game. Again, I kind of had the read that this might be a Vengevine deck because I don't think Dredge has been playing that many Insolent Neonates recently, but let's see what's happening here. Greater Gargadon, okay. If you can find like another way to, like another Spreading Seas, I think now we just want to play this main phase, try to hit a land drop. Oh boy. Oh boy. Damnation might come in handy down the road. Right now, we are not fighting our opponent very well. We're not making it hard for them to do what they want to do. So hopefully they don't play like a Gravecrawler here. Okay, that's a Gravecrawler. Let me just Wow. Okay, so this is like the Grixis Bridgevine deck that I played against earlier. Interesting. So we could just say go, right? I don't think... Okay. That's fine. They sacrificed the land that had the Spreading Seas on it. Again, that's... Crypt Breaker. That's a pretty good card. If they attack with Gravecrawler, I might block it, and then after damage, that'll get rid of the Bridge from Below from my opponent's graveyard, and then after damage, I can Fatal Push the Crypt Breaker, and that way they can't replay it. Okay. Now we have a couple options. We can Fatal Push the Crypt Breaker. We could also Fatal Push our own Snapcaster Mage. And that would maybe force them to... Oh, man, that's tough, because they're going to be able to replay Gravecrawler from their yard. I don't want them drawing cards, that's for sure. Let's go ahead and make their life a little bit harder. Yeah, they still have the zombie. They can still replay Gravecrawler from the yard. But I don't, like I said, I don't want them drawing cards. And we might be able to set up a board position where we sweep the board, get rid of our own Snapcaster Mage, and then also get rid of the Bridge from Below. Let's see, this Greater Gargadon has 5 on it. Yeah, that summons the Vengevine. Okay. So if we hit a land drop here, I might actually just sweep the board. That means they could play Greater Gargadon. I don't think I'm too worried about that, though. Cast down, huh? Not quite the card we want to see here. Again, we really just want to hit a land drop. Here we can go Snapcaster Mage, Fatal Push. Present some more blockers, make it hard for my opponent to keep this Bridge from Below intact. Bloodghast, sure. I guess that's pretty sweet. Yeah, my opponent's deck is just going off, right? See, Greater Gargadon is on 3. The thing I don't like about my opponent's deck is that it just doesn't work if they don't draw Greater Gargadon. It seems like, you know, they're kind of a combo deck, right? But if they don't draw that specific piece, they don't really have a sack outlet, as far as I'm aware. All right, looks like they're just going to keep on chugging here. If we can hit a land drop, then... Oh, it looks like they're just going to go ahead and attack now. That's going to be interesting. We do have the cast down for it, but we might want to play things differently. All right, looks like they're going all in on this Gargadon here. If we had a counter spell, we could actually just counter it. But again, we have the cast down, which also works out. Okay, so I think one of our best outs here is preserving life and top decking a land for Damnation. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. Play a blocker here, play a blocker here. Say okay. Fatal push a zombie, save some life. We take 7. We get to get rid of the bridge from below. And we hope to draw a land. Well, that's not a land. Can we survive in any other way? No. Yeah, we really needed a land drop there. I wonder if I had cycled Think Twice instead of doing all that, would we have hit a land? We did not. I mean, doesn't make it correct just because we weren't going to, but still worth noting. I like Leyline of the Void here a ton. Scarab God, I mean, it's expensive, but kind of does something. Probably can trim a Search for his Canton this matchup. Probably can trim Pull from Tomorrow. Kind of like our counter magic a little bit, especially if we can get it going pretty quick. Looks like they are a Grixis deck, so is Spreading Seas even that good? We can trim like a couple Spreading Seas. Trim like a Cryptic Command. Maybe actually keep Cryptic Command, trim a Jace. Yeah, trimming Jace seems better to me. Maybe like a Hero's Downfall is better than a Click. Yeah. EE doesn't seem fantastic to me here. Although EE kills a bunch of zombie tokens. That can't be that bad, right? Maybe trim. Now we can trim a Cryptic. Yep, this seems fine to me. Again, I think our deck should be able to... I probably should have cut the Crucible now that I'm thinking about it. Crucible doesn't seem that great. Oh, look at that. Leyline of the Void. Yeah, let's go ahead and keep. Obviously, Leyline is going to be great here. Let's go ahead and play a land. Now, they can still play like a kind of fair game, but it might be hard for them to actually answer this Leyline of the Void. Alright, that's an Insolent Neonate. Let's just go ahead and crack fetch here. I'm going to get the Fetid Pools out of my deck because I don't want to hit a I don't want to hit a tap land. So, Jace, not fantastic here. Question is, do we want to hold up Mana Leak? Or do we want to just make sure we hit our land drops? I think I just want to make sure we hit our land drops. That's how we lost last game. Let's go ahead and try to not die this way. Alright, that's a land drop. Means Crucible might be reasonable here. We'll see how my opponent wants to play this out, though. Opponent obviously not conceding to Leyline of the Void because they have ways to beat it. They can just play their creatures fairly and beat down. Okay, take 1 here, take 2 next turn. All right, I think this turn I want to hold up Mana Leak. Next turn I can play Crucible and immediately get the land off of it. Also, if my opponent doesn't do anything this turn, I can blow up one of their sources. But holding up Mana Leak, they could just play like a Prized Amalgam, and honestly, Prized Amalgam would be annoying to deal with. And also, this just gives us the opportunity to just draw a land drop naturally. We don't need to play Crucible here. Oh, they do have a green source. We can blow that up. Prized Amalgam. Yeah, this is what I was worried about. I don't want to have to deal with that. Ooh, I think here again we just, as I mentioned before, we want to hit our land drop. So if we weren't going to hit our land drop, at least next turn we can Damnation if our opponent plays a Vengevine. And we have this fetch going here, so we can get all the sources we want to get. Basic islands, watery graves, basic swamps, whatever we need for a certain situation. Alright, looks like no Vengevine coming out right now, which is really good for us. Okay, we'll get beat down for 2. Making my opponent play fair here is really nice. Bloodghast, sure. Let's go ahead and get a Watery Grave. See no reason not to. Interesting. We have a couple options here. We can just hold up Cryptic Command. We can also sweep the board. Kind of like sweeping the board. We can just sweep the board next turn as well. My opponent can sacrifice their Insolent Neonates to cycle, but this stops the early aggression. No need to get greedy with this Damnation. The best way we lose this game is just see what Stitcher Supplier into the graveyard, into the exile zone. Are they going to do the same thing with this? All right, and discard a Bloodghast. Great. Obviously, no Greater Gargadons that we have to deal with here. No Bridge from Belows. If we can untap, hold up Cryptic, or untap, play Jace, we're going to be in a really nice spot. Alright, that's a Greater Gargadon. It is cause for concern, kind of. We don't have an answer for it right away. But we have kind of plenty of time to find an answer. I'm going to go ahead and play Jace here. I'm going to start with a Brainstorm. Our hand's not fantastic. I wouldn't mind getting this Creeping Tarpit out here, but at the same time, I want to shuffle away those 2 lands on top of my deck. So what's nice about this is we can also trigger Revolt if our opponent hardcasts a Vengevine next turn. Although I have to imagine they can't possibly be playing two green sources in their deck. That seems awfully greedy. So let's go ahead and crack this fetch land here. Just get an island. Another Damnation. Not bad. Here I'm going to start trying to win with Jace. No. I think I'll just get this Creeping Tarpit out right now. We can hold up Glimmer. We can hold up Cryptic Command. We can hold up Snap Leak. A lot of things we can hold up here. If our opponent attacks Jace, we can Fatal Push it. And then they'll have a choice whether they want to sack it to Greater Gargadon or loot. Looks like they're going for my health. I'm just going to say okay to that. I'm really not too worried about that. Let's go ahead and Glimmer. Try to find a win condition maybe. Ooh, Liliana's not the worst. I don't mind her. Another Leyline of the Void. Not quite necessary. Let's go ahead and yes. I don't want them hitting a land. I don't know what they could find. And maybe I don't want to keep fetching out of my yard here. We do have to think about our life total. Maybe I just want to play this basic swamp. Nah, that can't be right. We can play Liliana here. We can hold up both Fatal Push plus Cryptic Command. So we have multiple ways to win the game. Alright, they discarded the Stitcher Supplier. And now we just keep going upstairs here with our Planeswalkers. This Gargadon is on what exactly? Greater Gargadon, and he's on 7. Sure. Bloodghast. Oh, Bloodghast does have haste now. That is interesting. I'm just going to go ahead and Fatal Push it, though. They can go ahead and sacrifice it to Greater Gargadon if they want to. Yep, that's what they're doing. They sacked it to Greater Gargadon. Here I'm gonna probably Field of Ruin, test them, see how many lands they actually have in their deck. Could be useful information for next game. They could also just sack it to Greater Gargadon. Yeah, alright, looks like they just don't want to reveal that information. Works for me. Looks like we had kind of a lock on that game though, right? Crucible actually came in pretty handy that game. Maybe Crucible is worthwhile to keep in. I don't know. On the draw, like Crucible does seem a bit slow. But like what else? Maybe we just want like more spreading seas, more ways to dig. Well, maybe not. I'm gonna keep the Crucible. It didn't seem that bad. Hopefully we just draw a Leyline again in our opener. I don't know what the chance of that is, but that's no Leyline, but it's a reasonable curve. Can we win if all we have is a reasonable curve? My opponent mulligan to 6. Kind of tempted to keep this hand. I don't think we can ship it back. It's not like Dredge where we just lose if we don't have Leyline. I think we can fight this matchup without Leyline. Alright. See what they've been off the top of their deck here. A Bridgevine. That's kind of scary. Do we want to hold up Fatal Push this turn? I don't think so. We could hold up Fatal Push to kill a Bridgevine. I don't know how amazing that is, though. Okay, well, if my opponent's shocking here, they might just be getting... Alright, sweet. That's kind of lucky for us. They don't have 2/1 drops. I'm just gonna... Ooh, well, Logic Knot's not that great here. I think I'm just gonna want to Spreading Seas their red source. It seems like the more important source here. We can take 3 here. As long as we're slowing down a potential Bridgevine, it's fine in my book. If my opponent's just passing here, wow, we're in a really good spot, aren't we? We could like Field of Ruin end of turn. Plus Fatal Push something off the board, probably the Bloodghast. I'm just gonna do that. I mean, it's gonna take some damage, but I'm just gonna do that post at the end of the turn. So post combat sometime, just in case I do need to hold up this Logic Knot for something. Looks like I don't, so we'll hit that. See if they have a basic in their deck. Nature's Claim, interesting. Guess we'll oh, Nature's Claim I guess would have hit the Leyline, so let's get a Swamp. They do have a basic in their deck. Let's go ahead and get rid of the Bloodghast. Oh, we did gain 4 life. That's kind of really good for us. Wow, this Scarab Guide might actually just be the most reasonable win con at this point. So now they can actually suspend a Greater Gargadon, which would let their deck go off a little bit. A Bloodghast, huh? If they hit a land drop here, then burning this Logic Knot's not great, but at the same time, like, I think I'm okay just using this Logic Knot. I'm gonna get the Fetid Pools out of my deck. Maybe that's... In case they play Simian Spirit Guide, I'm gonna go ahead and exile this Spreading Seas. I don't think they do, but just in case. Now, if they play a land here, that's when that's a really gotcha. It looks like they didn't. And now we can just play Scarab God. I don't think my opponent's gonna have many answers for Scarab God in their deck. We can stop on our own upkeep, but instead of stop, that way we can animate something. Looks like they hit a land, though. That's good for them. They get some blood gas out of the yard. They can keep on swinging in with this Stitcher Supplier, but we can animate their own Bridgevine. We're definitely not going to block. I have a feeling they should hold this back, though. Yeah. Still no Greater Gargadon. That's really good for us. Is there any reason to animate this right now? I don't think so. I think holding up Snap Logic Knot is just better. We can do that. We can just do things on end step, right? Hitting a land drop is not the worst. Now we can hold up a whole bunch of different things. I don't want to attack because Stitcher Supplier would get us here. They can bin more stuff, and I don't want them to bin more stuff. I think we're definitely favored as the game goes on here. I'll just block. We can counter like a lightning bolt effect or something like that. Grave Crawler, sure. I'm just gonna eat the Vengevine. Seems like the scarier card my opponent could have. I'm not going to use Scarab God's effect right now, but we'll scry. We probably don't need another Snapcaster Mage right now. Land drop is absolutely fine, though. Want to attack? Yeah, we probably want to attack with Scarab God here. Did we have lethal? No, not quite. We had 5, 9, 12. So let's just attack with Scarab God here. Opponent goes down to 10. We should have lethal next turn. Do we want to activate in response? Yeah, let's go ahead and do that. We're still keeping up Hero's Downfall. Oh my god, what am I doing? Yeah. That's a punt on my part. It was a fetch land activation, so there's nothing I could actually do about it. That's my bad, guys. That is my bad. Yep. Still doesn't have haste though, so that's good for us. I guess maybe I should have done that on my main phase, if that was going to be my plan anyways. Interesting. I kind of want to kill the Stitcher Supplier here. Do I need to? Does that just give them more potential outs? I don't know what could be in their graveyard. This drains them. They can't block with these guys here. I could rev up Creeping Tar Pit, swing for 7. I guess clearing the Stitcher Supplier would have been lethal. But we can still do that this turn, which is not very mana efficient though. I think lands are fine. So we just rev up both of these guys. Opponent's creatures can't block other than Stitcher Supplier. Don't think I made any punts here, but I guess we're about to find out, right? Yeah, our opponent does the math, sees that they're dead, and wow, looks like we got there. So again, I've played against this deck before on my channel. against the deck my opponent was playing. I'm really not a big fan of it personally. I think it's got maybe a few explosive draws, but pretty clearly clunky mana base. It relies on drawing Greater Gargadon to go off, and it's a graveyard-based deck, so you're going to run into a lot of hate that way, and it just doesn't do anything spectacular that Living End or Dredge doesn't do better, in my opinion. I could be wrong. It could be just still in the works right now, this deck. Maybe it's just being discovered, being tuned, etc., etc. But I just don't understand how this could be better than just what Dredge does normally. Way more explosive, way more powerful. Has engines like with the Life from the Loam and Conflagrate that just would probably put a lot of pressure on me had this been a Dredge game, you know. But either way, looks like our sideboard tools got us there, right? Leyline of the Void game 1, Scarab God game 2, and you just beat in and win, right? So I think in hindsight, like, Heroes Downfalling the Stitcher Supplier probably would have been a safer play. I don't think they can really put anything into their graveyard that could win them the game. I don't think they play Narcomoebas. Like, if they hit multiple Narcomoebas, then maybe that would kind of be annoying. But otherwise, like, I think, you know, that probably would have been fine. That means they would have to have, like, this one removal spell, like a Lightning Bolt. Not that they would play it, but if they did, like, Lightning Bolt does mean that what we just did wasn't lethal, and then they could maybe do something crazy next turn. But as it stands, you know, I think again I think in hindsight we could have made a better play, but we got there anyways. So that was our one and done video series with Blue Black Control. I really enjoy it. Let me know if you guys like this deck. If so, I can feature it in a longer series of 3-match or 5 matches, depending on how I'm feeling or what my schedule lines up for a certain week. So if you guys like this deck, let me know in the comments, and I will try to fit it in somewhere down the road. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching this one and done series, and stay tuned for more content coming up this Friday. I'll see you guys soon.